and related paraphernalia, and in particular military Keynesianism. Post-89, with the collapse of the Cold War, we've had the Bush Wars. And we have seen the rise of a concept, again it didn't come out of the blue, because there are vested interests, called NWO, the New World Order. When we had the Second Gulf War, not Iran-Iraq, but Kuwait. or the war over Kuwait. And linked to that is what I would call, or an author to acknowledge my source, Naomi Klein, disaster capitalism. The rise of the New World Order and disaster capitalism, in which preemptive wars are built around deconstruction of societies and reconstruction by war profiteers who plunder the treasury of their own countries to fund them and their currencies. Economic policies are run to benefit the financial elites. And finally, to bring the situation, the stage we're at, up to date, pre-9/11, some of us have done a lot of work on that. Pre-9/11, there was a thing called the Project for the New American Century. It's all documented. A plan that the 21st century should be the American century. However, what comes around, and the reality is that this plan has misfired. I do not at all see this as the American century. Now, underpinning the war economy exists the triad of the military, industrial, political complex. I think that quote comes from President Eisenhower. So there is a thing called the military, industrial complex, in which is interlocked to the concept of permanent war since World War II. In the post-war Cold Era, Bush, as I mentioned, introduced the New World Order with seeds planted in the Middle East for future wars. This idea originated with the Trilateral Commission's concept of the new international economic order, wherein military might enforces foreign policy, which is based on economic interests. It is an agenda of perpetual warfare and violence, fueling global domination via economic means. And to bring this up to date, international organizations such as NATO, which were devised for the defense of Europe or the West, are being transformed and have been transformed into aggressive forces to enhance US economic and geopolitical interests, where NATO has in reality become a surrogate military political force for globalization and US world economic domination. It's not out there to protect us here, this rhetoric, whenever we see one of our soldiers dying out in Afghanistan. If you believe that, you believe anything. Indeed, what are we doing? What is NATO doing in Afghanistan, of which we have a British dimension? Indeed, what are British and European soldiers dying for? It should be noted that Afghanistan is a symbolic rock in history where empires have been smashed historically. Now, this war economy is a parasite which manipulates fears and paranoia. Qaeda. One of our associates has researched this issue. Al-Qaeda. I mean, people like bin Laden, they were funded by the CIA, ISI in Pakistan, and the Saudis to fight the Soviets. Some people talk about this being a phony bogeyman. To create fear. This war economy, it trashes economies by diverting resources from domestic investment or into productive uses like green technologies, etc., and the green economy, and subverts university research massively. How is that productive? It reduces economic growth and employment. And indeed, the 9/11 attacks on the US homeland were used as a casus belli for the establishment and the establishment of a national security state. Just like that. And the global war on terror, I would call it the global war of terror, manipulates fears, keeps us afraid, and stops dissent. As far as 9/11, I'll put my cards on the table because Muslims have been the main victims of the military machines since 9/11. I want to put my cards on the table. As far as 9/11 is concerned, our think tank rejects the official narrative as Alice in Wonderland mythology and supports the existence of the phenomenon of state-sponsored false flag terror. There's a whole literature on that, where states and their military security intelligence apparatus create events and manipulate them. I'm prepared to put my hands up in the air and say, yes, on the Muslim side, we do have suicide cults, albeit very insignificant actually, but obviously suicide cults make an impact. But on the Western side, very few officially acknowledge the concept I've just mentioned, and it's there. Now, but that is another story. What I want to say now is the military economy operates also outside a competitive market. It's a monopoly. It erases the line between state and the corporation. And the latest position on the military economy is it's been privatized. It's been privatized. So we might think it's coming down in terms of numbers, manpower. But they're clever, these people. They're privatizing it. And you've got the rise of, like in the medieval age, mercenaries. Classic example, Blackwater. You check out who Blackwater is. Because of its bad reputation, it's called XC Services, which is indeed the largest private army in the world. And there's many others. So these figures they're given about manpower in particular is phony. So what we are seeing is insane. I talked about an upside down world. We're living in an insane world. We are seeing insane expenditure by departments who call themselves ministries of defense. These are departments and ministries of warfare. Let's get that right. And there is no correlation, for those who still believe it, between that expenditure and security. National interest or national security. There is no correlation between the two. Somebody should grab Brown and tell him at his party conference, why the hell are you cutting expenditure on the future of this country, hospitals, schools, jobs? Why not this gorilla in the room? And this whole apparatus has been hijacked by the financial oligarchs. Check an author called Chalmers Johnson. Mailman, another expert on this area, has proven that the Department of Defense or the Department of War in the US is the largest single block of financial capital resources in the US. I must confess the exact figures are difficult to verify as there is a cloud of secrecy over it, as can be expected. Mailman argues that since 1944, the US federal government has spent more than 50% of its entire budget on past, current and future military operations. And this underwrites the permanent war economy. Indeed, those who studied finance, if you include debt, repayments, the interest on the national debt, so if you add these two things together, war expenditure and debt, and who pays for it? The taxpayer. There's not a lot left for all the other things for a socially productive society.